There's a lot of stories coming out. The reason why you're on this show is because Shaq and Charles Barkley came out and said, hey, let's scrap this last season. There'll be a big asterisk, not worth it. You came out and said, and I was wrong, but you said, let's do it in a safe fashion. It feels as if all systems are go for an optimistic return for this thing, and it sounds like Orlando's going to be the home. What have been the conversations behind the scenes that have put us to this point where the NBA is definitely going to come back?
So first I got to correct you. That's not why I did the show. I did a badass, dude. I love it.
Yeah! Let's go.
I don't care about what those guys said, but to answer your question, right? I don't know yet. So I'm not on that committee. So I just hear things like everybody do. But the conversations I've had with other owners is that we are getting closer, right? We've just got to get to the point where we have confidence that whatever we do will work. I mean, you're an athlete, man. Imagine, you know how guys think and feel about the whole thing. When you put their health at risk, you put their careers at risk. So we have to be really, really safe. And so we're working on all those angles. But I'm a big fan of the Hotel California approach. You know, you put us in California, you check in, but you never leave until you. And so once we get that in, teams will go there. We'll set it up so it's safe. When the regular season's over, for those aren't in the playoffs, they go home. Then when you lose a playoff round, you go home until we're done.
Hey, and how big is it that LeBron James, Chris Paul, it seems like the stars of the league have said, like, hey, we want to do this, right? In baseball, you got a lot of the star players being like, we can't do this business-wise. This sounds like a bad deal. But in the NBA, a lot of the big stars are like, hey, we want to get back to this. We want to do this. And this would be something unlike ever before seen if it's like a March Madness style tournament. How big of a deal is that the stars of the league are on board?
You know, our guys are smart, man. You know, they understand business. And see, the difference between the NBA and most other professional sports is our guys are mostly brands. You know them on social media. You know, LeBron's got how many social media followers? Same with Chris Paul, Kevin Durant, Luka now, right, for the young stars, KP. They're huge on social media, and that's part of who they are. And so they have a lot stronger connections to fans and businesses and brands. And so they understand the business side of it as well as the athletic side. And that makes it a little bit easier for us than other sports.
You've come out and said on a couple different occasions that you feel like the NBA is the future. Now, granted, the NFL ratings were going down there for a little bit. NBA ratings were going up completely. Do you think it's because your players understand how to market and how to promote themselves, which inevitably promotes the league?
Yeah, I mean, no question. Now, look, ratings aren't the best guideline anymore because so many people have cut the cord, right? So you've got most of your younger fans who don't get cable, right? And that's a challenge for us, and the NFL has an advantage there. But nobody dominates social media like the NBA. And that's why I think we're really on the upswing for the reasons I mentioned. I mean, you got guys coming into the league like Luka and Zion who have millions of followers online, right? They already have that connection. Whereas, even Joe Burrows, right? It's like, you don't know him by sight. The number one pick, the number one quarterback coming out, right? You don't know him, and he doesn't have that presence that our athletes do, and that gives us a huge advantage.
The Ohio State athletic director, Gene Smith, just came out and said for his 105,000-seat stadium, they figured out a way to put 22,000 to 50,000 people in it with guidelines that I assume that you and the committee have put in there. What are the guidelines? What are the steps? And can anybody be certain about anything at this point?
So first, no one can be certain about anything right now, man. That's the scary part, right? We don't know, no one. It's like this thing changes every day, and we learn something new every day. So you have to build that in. But in terms of how do you fit as the most amount of people, kind of the way we're looking at it, and this is all just planning and evaluating. It's not anything written in stone. People live in little quarantine groups, right? You live with your family or you've got your roommates. We're going to try to get those groups together and allow them to come into the arena together. And so once we can confirm that the McAfee family or the Cuban family, and there's 5 of them, or you might have 12 roommates living in a house, right? Those 12 people who are already quarantined together, once we can confirm those groups, then we can sit them as a group in the stadiums or arenas and then, create space, social distance around them. And then if the testing gets real good, and we're still unsure about the testing, and that's part of the problem. But then when the testing gets real good, then we can start saying, okay, the McAfee and the Cuban family, you guys are close. Why don't you let us quarantine you together? We'll pick you up on a bus, bring you to the game. And now we've got 30 people that we have in a group, and we do social distancing around them. And then those groups, once we get more confident in the testing, we can put bigger and bigger groups. And then if the testing gets good enough, you can test at a game, and it's all going to be voluntary. right? And that's the thing I think people get afraid of. Nowhere, you can't force people to get tracked and traced. No, people aren't going to do that in this country. They got to volunteer and opt in. You can't force people to get tested because people are afraid that the government is going to keep that stuff, right? And so it's got to be something where it's voluntary, opt in, and once you allow that, then you can start growing the groups that go into the arenas and stadiums.
So sorry to interrupt. If you're a man watching this, you deserve to have long, great. And you can do that now with our friends at Roman. Right now, you go to GetRoman.com, you get $10 off and free 2-day shipping on Roman swipes, which are guaranteed to make you have longer, more fulfilling every time you get in the sack. Now let's get back to the fornicating action.
The rumor that Disney World is the front runner for the NBA to come back, is there a reason why that is the front runner over, say, Vegas, or they even throughout the Bahamas or something like that?
It's a great reason. One, it's a good spot. Two, Disney is our biggest effing partner. Of course, we're going to partner with them, right? ABC, ESPN, yeah, they're a partner, and we're going to do everything we can to take care of our partners.
And will that be, you said Hotel California, all guys will come in there. Their families will come or no? And you're only expecting this to be a couple weeks?
I mean, there's a capacity, the more people you add, the more risk you add as well. And then there's capacity issues. So I don't have an answer for you there.